In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to move a blog that you have installed in a subdirectory to the root of your site. And what I mean by that, if we look here on my blog that I have installed at WP Blog Host, I have a blog installed here. It's in my web address, wpbloghostschool.com/Figaro. So this blog is installed in a subdirectory called Figaro. And if I wanted that blog to be in the root, I'm going to take Figaro off and just hit enter. If I wanted it to be here in the root directory of my site, then I would need to move it from that subdirectory into root. Now there are a couple ways to do this, but in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to move it from a subdirectory into root to accomplish that. So to do that, let's go to your control panel and go to your files. When you log into your files area, you'll see your blog in the subdirectory, and the one I'm dealing with here is in the Figaro subdirectory. We'll go back up here just to show you again. Figaro on the end of my site, that's my blog, and that blog is in this directory called Figaro. Now if I want that running in the root of my site in the HTML area here, then I need to take all the files inside Figaro and move them out to my root. The one thing that you want to make sure of is that you don't have another index file in your root. You can't have more than one index file in a directory. If you do, then browsers are going to get confused. So if you're not using the root directory of your site for anything else, and you don't have another index HTML file, index PHP file, or something like that there, then you can have your blog running in root no problem. But if you are using your site, your root directory of your site for other things, then you may want to go ahead and keep your blog in a subdirectory. So it's up to you as to where you run it. Just keep in mind you're only going to have one index file per directory. So if you decided you want to move it, then simple matter of going to your Figaro directory, click on Figaro so that you see all the files in Figaro. Click the check above those files, and then click Move, and then you're going to select the directory. So here it says select the directory from the tab in which you'd like to move the files. So you click on HTML. That's where we're going to move it to, is the root directory, that public HTML, and then click OK. Now what it did that time was move 25 files. If you notice, when you look in your directories, it shows 25 files. Well, there are more than 25 files in a directory. So it moved my first 25 files from Figaro over there. So now I do it again to get the remaining 3 and repeat the process. So move, select HTML, and click OK. Now I've just moved all of my blog files out of Figaro and into root. If I click on HTML now, I see my WP admin, WP content, WP includes, and then all of my other WP files will be out here in root. So that's moved. Now Figaro directory is empty. I don't really need it, so I could leave it there if I wanted, or I could come here and put a check by Figaro now and delete it. I don't need it sitting there empty. Click OK. Now that's the first part of the move, but your site is still not going to work. Now if I come back to my site, if that's all I do, and I click on Figaro, Figaro is gone. And if I go to the root directory now, my root directory is still broken. Okay, so the second thing that I need to do once I move all those files into root, I need to go to my database, MySQL database for that blog. And if you don't remember which database you're using, and if you don't remember the password and so forth, you can open the wp-config file that is now setting in root. That's wp-config.php, and that information is in there. But you come to your database here and open Manager, and that is the 2009 blog 1 database. Enter your database password to open that database. Select your database on the left, and we're going to export it. Click Export, select all to make sure all tables are selected, choose SQL, leave everything on the right default, save file, go, and click Save, and download that database to your computer. So what we need to do is download the database, open it change the web address, and then import it back in. So I've downloaded the database. I'm going to come over here now. Here's the SQL file. I'm going to open that SQL. You can use any plain text editor to edit your SQL file with. But what we're doing, let's just scroll down and look. Our blog was installed in wpbloghostschool.com/Figaro. And that's no longer accurate. Our blog is now just in wpbloghost.com. And that web address is going to be in several places throughout your database. So we need to change all of those. So to do that, in your text editor, just do a search and replace. So I'm going to replace all instances of wpbloghostschool.com/Figaro with just wpbloghostschool.com, my root directory where I moved all the files. I hit replace all. That will update your database, the URL throughout your database. Save. So now my SQL file has been updated. So go back to your phpMyAdmin where your database is. And now we're going to drop all the tables in this database. Just click on your database, check all, and with selected, drop. And what you're doing here essentially is deleting everything from your database. Now you have your database, but it's empty. So now we're going to import that corrected SQL file. So browse, find the SQL file that you corrected, allow partial import, SQL, and go. Now again, if you do this and it doesn't work, if the phpMyAdmin times out on you or it doesn't import, then you may need to use the process for importing a large database. And there's a video that shows you how to import a database using Big Dump. So if your database is huge, you may not be able to import it directly through phpMyAdmin like this. If that's the case, look at the Big Dump video to see how to import this database back. Now we should be able to go out and go to our root of our site and refresh our site, and our blog is now moved to the root directory. Okay, so it's as simple as that. You simply move all your source code to root, dump your database, search and replace on the URL to get the proper URL, then go and drop all your tables in that database and import it back in, and now you have your blog running in the root of your site. Now you could do even the opposite. If you had your blog in root and you wanted it to be in a subdirectory, you could just do the reverse of this process. Go into your files area, create your subdirectory, move all your source code into that subdirectory, dump your database, change the URL, drop the tables, import the database, and you can change your blog from running in your root to a subdirectory the same way. So it's a pretty simple process, but there are a few details to it that you just need to pay attention to, and hopefully this video is clear enough to allow you to make that change if you want to.